What sales skills are most important? So one of the most important sales skills is prospecting, because in any business you need a constant line of fresh work to do. Even if you're doing a lot of ongoing work for people once they come in board, you still would want to be oversubscribed versus undersubscribed, which means you'd rather have a waiting list of people to work with you than you would want to be going through feast and famine. So feast and famine means that you're trying to get sales and you get some sales and now you're busy delivering to those people, and since you're delivering, there's no one getting the next client ready, and so when you're done, now you're hungry because you've spent the money or you've been living on that money you just made, and now you got to go get some more. So prospecting is the concept of keeping a steady flow of potential customers through your business. It's about constantly getting your message out there so you can build awareness, so people can like you and engage with you, and then come in to find out more about you, what you do, and if you fix a problem they solve. Prospecting is huge. The next one is lead qualification, because not everyone is an ideal client and you shouldn't serve people that you can't help, or you should be very clear on helping set expectations for them. Otherwise, they might be happy. If they think one thing and you're thinking something else, there's potential for some interpersonal disaster here. So you really want to be able to qualify properly. What does that mean to qualify? Well, in my book and from what I've learned, I think qualifying means that you've identified the pain that they have, and not just superficial pain, but you've identified the burden of this pain in their lives. You identified a budget that they have to spend on this, or they understand the cost of the burden of not having this fixed, right? Either now or in the long term. And then also you figured out whether they can make a decision or not, or other people need to be involved. And then the kind of timeline that they're looking to take action on. Once you know the answer to those questions, you could say that this person is qualified or not qualified yet. And then you would be able to determine what to do. If they're right in every aspect, but the timeline doesn't match, then I would suggest that this person just needs to be kept in touch with, because they're not ready yet. People don't buy when you want to sell. They buy when they're ready to buy. You can nurture them along that process, but you can't push someone faster than they're ready to go. I would say that you shouldn't push someone faster than they're ready to go. So first, you really want to make sure you got prospecting and qualifying down. This is going to make up the bulk of your work, because a lot of people just aren't going to be a good fit. And then you're going to want to get into the negotiation process, where you're answering questions with them, and they might have objections or concerns, and you shouldn't be afraid of that. When people bring up these objections, they're actually just trying to see clarity on how to move forward. It's not so much an objection as it is them just trying to see your vision and trying to understand what's going to happen next. And so that's where you have to have good communication skills, negotiation skills with people. And that's where you also have to have the product knowledge and the industry knowledge to be able to give good answers on this. And then at this point, you need to try to maybe help people. You got to be a stern but loving parent. People say closing. That is closing. But if you've done the prospecting and the lead qualification stuff right, the closing kind of happens naturally, because people feel comfortable, they feel respected, they feel heard, and they feel understood. And so now it's just talking about what are the next steps. Like, hey, we talked about, your need, the budget, if you can make the decision, the timeline you're comfortable with. This is a match. You asked the questions that you had. I asked you if we can, if these things matter most to you. Like, what matters most to you about this product? Okay, great. If our solution has all these things that you want, does that mean we can work would you work with us? Yes, okay, boom, 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 boom. Or you can be like, hey, we don't have all of those. I'm gonna tell you right now up front, because I think it's important that there be trust and honesty. And it's a really important thing. A lot of people, they're just focused on getting that paycheck, but you just have to understand business is a long-term game. You're just gonna, even if you don't have an honest bone in your body, even if you are the incarnation of evil incarnate, it just makes business sense to do business with as much love and integrity as possible. You're going to get more referrals, you're going to take better care of people, they're going to feel better taken care of and loved and respected, they're going to leave you better reviews. It just, everybody wins. And so that's really where you need to go through those steps. So prospecting, lead qualification, the negotiation stuff, and talking about the product and its features, that's typically where most people are right away, but they don't take enough time on this first and second step. They aren't prospecting enough, they're not qualifying people enough. I'm as guilty as anybody. But then once you get a qualified person, then you start negotiating with them what's important to them, what does this thing need to have for them to be happy with it, and then you would move into your product and industry knowledge to help show them that this does meet those needs, or to be candid with them and say it does do this but not that. And then ideally you would want to try to ask for referrals if you could at this point. Once they've bought, like, hey, since you're joining, any of your friends might want this too. Since we're doing it, let's do a batch. Hey, since I'm baking pies, let's bake a couple more. Anybody else want some? And then of course closing, because just because someone agreed doesn't mean that it's completed. So you really need to supervise the sale until the contract's signed, the money's been transferred, because that means the commitment has been finalized. And now it's on you, your company, your team to deliver what was promised. And then of course, the most important piece of this, which really is also a selling piece to it, is making sure the customer needs are met, that they're happy, and just trying to over communicate almost if there's any issues around that in advance, not waiting until after it's become a problem, after the client gets upset, really giving them an opportunity to communicate both ways as the delivery of the product or service is unfolding, to make sure that they're happy. And any of that feedback you shouldn't be afraid of, because it can make you better. And so these are the sales skills that are most important. Starting at the top, prospecting, and proper qualifying. Do those two right, everything else becomes much, much easier, but you still need to know those other skills. What a lot of people do is they do prospecting into product knowledge. Prospecting, ask one question about their pain, jump into product knowledge. And it's just, it's too early. It's way too early at this point. You don't even know if they have a need. You're just eager to make a sale. I've done it as much as anybody else probably, but when you follow what's proven to work, when you take your ego out of it, when you take your personal interest out of it, and you really try to just be in service of the other person, they feel it, they become more comfortable. They might be willing to forgive some of your shortcomings, and then the sale is made. So at the end of the day, all a company is a group of people solving the problem of another group of people via a product or service. So all of this stuff needs to be done with love. You can be competitive, you can be ambitious, you can be an A-type go-getter if you want, but you have to remember that at the end of the day, I know you want to make money because you want all these things that the money's going to let you do, but it's only... Life is a long-term game. We all may not make it to the very end, but there's no guarantee of tomorrow, but man, it'd be nice if you thought today and if you planned today better so you would like where you are tomorrow. There's a lot of people who have endings to their lives and end up in the future where they don't want to be. Whereas, Drayton Bird said this best, the goal of business is to locate a prospect, to turn that prospect into a customer, and then to make that customer your friend. And I think that is a fantastic way to look at business and sales.